And welcome, everybody. NYCFC Coffee Break Live. I'm Glenn Crooks. We are in Columbus. And when I say we, Matty Lawrence, my broadcast partner, we'll have our live commentary as part two of the MLS season tonight with New York City playing at Scott's Miracle Grow Field. Say that three times fast. The former lower.com. Where New York City has never won. In the new stadium, New York City has never won a match. They're playing Columbus tonight, and airtime for our commentary is 7:15. Now, Matty is normally here with me right at the start of NYCFC Coffee Break Live, which we normally do on Monday mornings, but we figured we're going to be in Columbus. It's the return of MLS, so we're doing it from our hotel here, downtown Columbus, Ohio. Unfortunately, on the 8th floor, the Wi-Fi is rather sketchy. So we're both on our hotspots, and I know Matty is he disappeared. We've communicated by phone, but hopefully he'll be able to kick on. In the meantime, I figured I'd get this thing going, and we'll get through as much of this as possible. So New York City is in 8th place coming into the part two of the MLS 2026 season, and it's Columbus in 10th place in the Eastern Conference, but trailing New York City by only 3 points. So we're going to go over some of the particulars there. When Matty gets back on, we want to kind of conclude with our thoughts of the World Cup final and the World Cup in general, as well as the start of the MLS season. A couple of the highlights tonight with MLS kicking off with all 30 teams playing. Now, we know there were some games played before the World Cup final to kick this thing back off. However, a majority of the teams are playing their initial games after the World Cup break tonight, including New York City and Columbus. Inter Miami will host the Chicago Fire. Now, Lionel Messi, he will not, and DePaul, those two will not be involved in this game tonight. But we figure Robert Lewandowski will be, and I just imagine that what has transpired in Chicago over the last week has been interesting, to say the least, because Greg Berhalter, the head coach, and he's also the sporting director, so he's in charge of the player acquisitions, and which always have to be approved through the ownership. But Chicago had been working rather diligently, it sounded like, on the twin strikers, knowing that they have Hugo Kuipers, who going into the break with 13 goals was the Golden Boot leader in MLS, and it had certainly been one of the key elements of pushing Chicago into the number 3 hole in the Eastern Conference. And but he has since been transferred to Monterrey with the arrival of Robert Lewandowski. Now, as I mentioned, Greg Berhalter talked a lot about working with twin strikers, that they're going to figure out how to get those two guys to play together. So this is Greg Berhalter on July the 16th, and following the acquisition of Lewandowski.
You know, part of what we've been doing these last months is working through what it would look like in a two-striker system. And we did that on purpose to get a lot of video, a lot of footage. It's not too common to play with two strikers nowadays, but we've been working hard on what that looks like around the penalty box, what the combinations look like, how to affect the back line with two strikers. And we have some really good data points. We've been scoring goals lately. We've been, really picking apart the back line. And we don't see any reason why that can't continue with Hugo and Robert on the field together. You know, they're both high quality players. They're both players that, can take advantage of a small amount of space, can finish under pressure, can finish in small spaces. So we're actually really excited about this possibility, and we think that it can be a great combination.
A combination that will never transpire. What's really interesting is Chicago was supposed to host Vancouver in one of the featured matches as MLS was coming back into the fray. And that game got postponed until October because of the Ontario wildfires that had really disrupted the air quality in that part of the country in particular, and also in the Northeast where we are in New Jersey and New York. So that game on last Thursday night was unfortunately postponed because you figured that Lewandowski was going to make his debut and we'd see he and Kuipers up top. I don't know if that would have ever transpired, but that was July 16th, those comments from Greg Berhalter. And now here's his presser July 21st. And the first question asked, obviously, is what happened with Kuipers?
I think that we want to be a club that looks after our players. We want to be a club that is also, I think, shrewd with our decision making. And, Hugo, came to us and expressed a desire to go elsewhere. And for us, it was finding good value in that deal. We knew that there's a couple things at play. And by the way, the deal is not finalized yet. It's still being completed, but we have an agreement in principle. And we think it gives us some flexibility now. For us, it's about now looking to go strengthen the team in other areas. And I think, we were excited about trying a 4-4-2. We thought it had potential. Alas, we never get to see it actually on the field. It was good in concept. But in reality, I think if we have the opportunity to strengthen in other areas, we can perhaps come out on the better end of this. And, his contract expired in 18 months. He has a 1-year option. And, for us, it was trying to get value. We paid a big sum for him, and to try to recoup some of those expenses and use those resources to strengthen other areas was our idea. And at the same time, helping a player in his wishes. Hugo's been a great addition to this club. We're always going to remember his time here. We move forward.
So that was Greg Berhalter. And again, he's in charge of making these sorts of deals. The acquisition of Lewandowski, he played a big role in that. And then now the departure of Kuipers to Monterrey, and a combination of Kuipers. And we wondered, here's a guy who's the primary figure and the best striker in MLS statistically, who is now not only, he gave up his number voluntarily, was going to wear 99, giving Lewandowski his number 9. And this is certainly something of interest to New York City supporters, because the first home game back from this World Cup break will be this coming Saturday at Yankee Stadium, where New York City FC will host the Chicago Fire. But tonight it's Columbus. Another game of interest tonight with a new European star involved in MLS is San Jose playing host to Orlando City, and Antoine Griezmann is expected to make his debut for Orlando City. Things to watch closely tonight. And on the broadcast tonight, we'll keep track of everything along the way. Again, our airtime is 7:15 for the pregame show. I've got 12 minutes with Pascal Janssen. It was wonderful to reconnect and have the beginning of these weekly conversations with the head coach. These are exclusive one-on-one interviews. Oftentimes you'll hear certain things from Pascal that he might not have said in his presser or publicly before. So I hope that you have an opportunity on nycfc.com/radio to check out the pregame show. And then you can listen to the live commentary. Maddie and I just sync up the audio with the video so you can hear our commentary as well. Now, we look at Columbus, and they've made a pretty massive change as they have swapped out coaches, as Laurent Courtois is coaching Columbus on an interim basis. So the interest here is that Courtois was the former Columbus Crew 2 coach, won the very first MLS Next Pro championship, and then eventually went to CF Montreal as the head coach. He was sacked there, then came back as an assistant to Henrik Rydstrom, who had come over from Malmo, and then Rydstrom gets canned before the end of this first half of the season. They were winless in their last 4 when he was sacked. And then Laurent Courtois came in, and he's only coached 1 game. And that was the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal against the New York City Football Club. All right. I think, can we try Matty again? Let's see if we can bring him in here. Boom. Hello, Matty.
I'm in, Glenn, but I'm on my phone. I don't know what's happened with laptop and microphone.
Well, this is okay. This is okay.
Needs must. And the crazy thing is that we're only 4 feet apart as well, obviously.
I know.
Modern technology is not working. But yes, I'm very sorry for that, Glenn. But I have, yes, I'm working off my iPhone. So
it's okay. No, you look fine. Everything looks good. You know, the current phase of iPhones gives a brilliant picture now on video. So I think you look better than me, to be honest with you, off this MacBook Pro. I know you said maybe come in and join me, but I'm so set up here. I don't know. We would be fumbling around for a while, so that may not have worked. All right. Well, I think I did an introduction into what's going on tonight here, and we're talking about Courtois, the interim coach, and a guy who has had success on some levels, and then you'd have to say CF Montreal was a difficult time for him, although they have there's a trigger finger up there in Joey Saputo that is, we've over the years, it's the number of managers that they've gone through and the impatience, the lack of players acquired. I mean, there's all kinds of things in Montreal that would lend itself to being a difficult place to play. But Laurent, he's French. He's and it's a complete French culture in Montreal. So I think he thought maybe this is something I could do.
Yeah, I think at Montreal, it's very, very hard to judge anyone because exactly what you said. There is a lack of infrastructure, it seems, at the football club. It seems that Joey Saputo is very, very happy to hire and fire at will. There doesn't seem to be a great deal of finance put into the club. Wilfried Nancy had a modicum of success, didn't he? But then he's an absolutely fantastic manager. And I'm not saying that Courtois isn't. So far, we haven't seen it. So far, we are left, I think, waiting to see what he can do at the MLS level. It's a decent club. And we know that Columbus Crew is a decent club. They've invested heavily. We know that. And even recently, they've picked up a number of good players as well. So they've got a decent squad, Glenn. So I think if you're going to succeed, you've been given all the tools that you can want, really, at Columbus Crew if you're Laurent Courtois. I know they're struggling maybe in terms of a true centre forward, but they've got many other quality pieces around that.
Yeah, well, Diego Rossi is gone. He went to Monterrey, so now he and Kuipers are going to play together in Mexico, yeah, which is kind of an interesting little story unto itself. And but they have acquired, a guy named it's a designated player, Brais Mendez. He's an attacking midfielder, and he's coming from Real Sociedad, who are coming off a Copa del Rey championship. Beating Atletico Madrid in the final. So, he's got some experience, and I would imagine he's probably someone who's going to have to pull up some of the weight of the loss of Rossi.
Yeah, I think he can in terms of the quality of his play. He's obviously, you don't fluke playing in La Liga for 8, 9, if not 10 seasons like he has done with Real Sociedad and with other clubs. He's a very good player. He's played a couple of times for the Spanish national team. You can, in a way, fluke playing a couple of times for the US, for the Spanish national team, but not the amount of games he's played in La Liga. He's a good player, but what he isn't going to do is score the goals that Diego Rossi has. Yeah. Diego Rossi averaged 15 goals per game in MLS play with LAFC. He's averaged just about 15 goals per season again as well. Sorry if I said per game, I meant 15 goals per season as well at Columbus Crew. Add to that his assists. I'm not sure you're going to get the same output from Mendes, but he is a top quality player, and they've added other parts around him as well, Glenn. So I think it will be intriguing for me to see what type of lineup he puts out, Laurent Courtois. and how they go about attacking NYCFC, because NYCFC are very short themselves. Let's be honest. The squad is
Well,
being truly tested.
yeah, we'll get into the injuries in a minute because we calculated potentially 7 starters are currently on the sideline. Diego Rossi had 6 goals and 2 assists to lead in goals and goal contributions for Columbus before his departure. And then Wasim Abu Ali, who I still distinctly remember you calling his hat trick at the Club World Cup at MetLife. He had 5 goals and an assist in the 7 games he played before he had a season-ending ACL tear. So they've lost quite a bit. And right now, Max Arfson is their leading scorer on the roster with 4 goals, and he's a fullback. So there you go.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of rumours about Arsene himself leaving the club.
Yeah.
I saw one very recently talking about him going to Middlesbrough, who are a top draw championship team. We know that Aidan Morris as well, probably, I assume, a former teammate of his at Columbus Crew as well. So there is that affiliation with the championship club, Middlesbrough, and I think Arsene would do very well there. I'm not saying he should leave this second, but I wouldn't be surprised to see if he left at some point as well. So yes, they are struggling in terms of goal scorers, that's for sure. But I think they've still got a strong side as well. And that's all across the board. But yes, I think they are desperate for a true centre forward. And whether one comes, because they're obviously outlaying a lot of money on Abu Ali himself, it will be interesting to see how that plays out for them.
They've also added, we should say, we were talking about him last night, Eric Bailly, who is a central defender, who many of us watched, and you very closely at Manchester United. So he's got that sort of pedigree. I said to you last night, I remember a couple of really good seasons, I thought, at Man U. 32 years old, so I don't think we could say he's over the hill. What say you about him as he defends? Well, we're not sure. Will he be defending Benny Traore? Will it be Nico Fernandez-Burcal? I'm not sure who will be up top.
Yeah, I think he's a very good player at this level. I think his career is waning a little bit. He left Man United and went to, he's on loan, I think, at Marseille and Besiktas. And he went back to Villarreal, which is where he was before he came to Man United. Didn't go particularly well for him there in his second spell. And then last season, he was at Real Oviedo, who got relegated, who were the bottom team in La Liga. And he didn't play that many games either. So, yes, he's at a decent age. I think 32 is a decent age for a centre-half. Centre-halves can easily play to the 35, 36, 37. But we haven't seen it in recent years. He is a good player. He's played in the Champions League. He's played in the Europa League. He won the Europa League with Man United. He won the EFL Cup with Manchester United. He's won the Community Shield, I think, with Man United as well. He's a good player. He should be a very good player at this level. I think sometimes he's a little bit rash. When I've seen him at Man United, he's made too many individual errors, and he always wants to win the ball, Glenn, which I suppose for a defender, of course, you always want to win the ball, but sometimes he wants to win the ball when it's not there to be won and gives away too many free kicks and too many penalties. But if he can really integrate himself into this Columbus Crew side with his pedigree, Glenn, he should be a success. But let's wait and see. It will take him a while to get acclimatized with the league, the style of play of the Columbus Crew, of course, and of MLS as a whole. And then we go back to the travelling. Can he deal with the travelling? He is a good player, though. He's played 40 times for the Ivory Coast. He's no mug, that's for sure.
And he's got Steven Moreira coming back. Well, he's got a story, Cape Verde, and he's apparently available to play tonight. So Moreira maybe can help him acclimate. All right, let's get to the New York City Football Club, the team that we talk about most often. And the injuries, Keaton Parks, Aiden O'Neill, Kai Truen, Kevin O'Toole, Raul Gustavo, Alonso Martinez. Those are the gents who we listed as potential starters who are going to be on the sideline. And Keaton Parks injured himself in warm-ups at the U.S. Open Cup game against Columbus on May the 20th. The 1-0 loss in the quarterfinal, and is still not back in full training. But Pascal Janssen assured us yesterday that he'll return soon. But that's a lengthy absence. It's unclear as to what happened to Parks. And then Aiden O'Neill, 4 to 6 weeks. We knew his ankle was in bad shape going off to international duty, and I think he just got himself through it. He played well enough to draw interest from, and that's what happens in the World Cup, right, Matty? Kai Truan, something happened there, and Pascal said there was communication between the Aussie national team, and they knew before he was returning that he was going to have ankle surgery. There's a minor fracture, but he's going to be out longer than anyone, it appears, including Alonso Martinez. Gustavo, it's considered a minor injury. They don't expect him back too long. And Kevin O'Toole, this is a long injury report, sorry, but Kevin O'Toole is not yet back in full training either. He had surgery, but I saw him in the elevator. I saw him at this MLS's back thing where he was one of the New York City players that was there, and he said he's really close to getting back. And then people are really curious about Alonso Martinez, I know. Let me play this from Pascal Janssen. And there's a mention of Rodri in here, and I want to go over what maybe the expectation is based on what Pascal said.
Well, what I can say is if you come back from an ACL injury like Rodri did and becoming the best player of the World Cup, then that is the time we need in order to get Alonso back as well, because this is a serious injury. And of course there's a timetable, but everybody is different, and you have to respect that as well and respect the injury and the rehab time for that. He's in a good place. He's looking bright and sharp in the training sessions that he's allowed to do just yet. And that's what we focus on day by day.
I thought the comparison to Rodri was interesting, so I went and really looked up the specifics of Rodri's recovery when he was at Man City with the knee. So 8 months, return to training and limited competition. 11 to 12 months, regained his starting position. Now, we're recognizing this is Man City, but we also see without him that they weren't the same team. And then 12 to 15 months, back to pre-injury form. And I remember Pep saying out the door that Rodri he's going to have a big World Cup because he'll be ready to go then. So that's a lengthy period. And if you look at those timetables, you can't expect too much from Alonso Martinez based on the fact, I don't know if Pascal was being sly in throwing the Rodri thing in there, but if you use those particular numbers, then I don't think we're going to see Alonso Martinez at really full tilt until maybe that sprint season.
I think Pascal was being very cute there in comparing Alonso Martinez with a guy that took a long time to come back. It took a long time for Rodri to come back to form. I played a long time and in my professional career, and quite a long time ago. So medicine wasn't quite as good. Surgeries weren't quite as good. But I played with Tim Cahill. Tim Cahill ruptured his ACL and he was back on the training ground in 5 months, which was incredibly quick. And he was back to his best in 8 months. So I could say that as well and say, I saw it with my own eyes.
It's true.
That Tim Cahill was back. He actually was back training and it was only the surgeon holding him back. He came back so quickly that the surgeon said, no, you're not allowed to come back to full competitive training till 6 months. He would have been ready to go at 4 months. Granted, his was probably a bit of an anomaly, but what I will say with Rodri is Rodri's a big man mountain. He's 6'4" and he's massive. I do think that when you're bigger, it sometimes takes longer.
Yeah.
I don't know medically whether that's true, but I do feel that is the case. Alonso Martinez is more of a Tim Cahill size. But yes, what you can say, and it is absolutely definitive, Glenn, is you cannot rely on Alonso Martinez until he's been out at least a year or back in form after a year. And if not 12 to 15 months, we saw how dynamic Rodri was and truly back to form. 12 to 15 months, as you said, Glenn. I'm not going to doubt that it may take somebody that long to come back. There's no way you can rely on Alonso Martinez, which is why I think somebody like Bene Traore has come in. And we know he is a similar type of player to Alonso Martinez. Very short in stature, very quick in pace, probably truly a winger if you were going to look at what he's done throughout his career. I know he himself said he wanted to play as a centre forward. And I think that's similar to Alonso Martinez. Alonso Martinez was started as a winger at NYCFC and said he wanted to be a centre forward. Similar to Castellanos as well. So I don't think that when I've looked at Traore when he's played, and really he's been playing as a left winger and coming in, cutting in from the left hand side. I think that's where I see him as a player, but there's nothing wrong with him wanting to be a centre forward because we've seen it work in NYCFC history with Castellanos, with Martinez, two players who have done fantastically well transitioning to a different role.
And how much do you think we'll see Traore tonight? And we assume he'll make his debut, but I guess we got a little insight here from my one-on-one with Pascal yesterday. You'll hear the full thing tonight on the pregame show at 7:15.
Yeah, it's going good so far. Also having creating the awareness and keeping that also front of mind is that his off season hasn't been like our start of the preseason again.
Yeah.
He came in later than the rest of the team started in June, for obvious reasons, obviously, and that is something you have to respect also. And you know as well as I do, Glenn, when transfers happen, a lot of things go on in the players' lives. You're moving to another part of the world. You have to get all these permits. You have to get acquainted with the locker room. You have to find your place. There's so many things going on. So this is a very sensitive period also, and we take care of Benny the best we can and make sure that his program is in line to become more robust every time. So he's able to compete at the highest level as well as soon as possible. But you have to respect the phase he's in and respect the fact that that will need some time. And when he had time on pitch, like I mentioned earlier, you could see the chemistry already growing with players that need to feed him, the understanding what needs to be there once we're out of possession, the intensity that he can bring to the game based on his agility, his speed, change of direction. It's fascinating to watch because you see the chemistry and the dynamics within the team. You see that taking on a different form again based on the availability of the players and the new guys in the team.
And he's been able to compete in the friendlies that you've had?
Yeah, he had some part of it. When we played against Red Bull, he had just arrived. So that was limited to, I think it was 20, 25 minutes or so. So we have to make sure, like I explained just now, to respect where he comes from and where he is physically in order to enjoy as much as we can from him.
And New York City reportedly has played friendlies against Philadelphia and confirming there, Pascal, against Red Bulls. And in his weekly presser, he was a little more specific about his relationship with Nico Fernandez-Marcao, that they've really started to form a nice on-field bond. So it's Maxi and Fernandez-Marcao before. Maxi's now out injured. And I suppose that relationship will be a key factor in this second half of the season, Matty.
Yeah, I think so. I think with a player like Fernandez-Marcao or Maxi Morales, they're so intelligent as footballers that they will be able to link up with pretty much anybody. Traore, we don't know as much about, but having watched him, he does like to feed off of other players around him, little 1-2s, intricate little triangles. Yes, he does have the ability to go at players himself, and he's a very direct runner, especially with the ball as well. He's willing to run at players, run at defenders, but he's also not totally selfish. Just from clips I've seen, he does like to play little wall passes, especially around the top of the penalty area, little 1-2s. I think
more than once, Pascal has referred to his change of direction, like almost in an impressive way, like wow, this guy he's different. And I haven't seen enough to maybe make that make that confirmation, but we'll see tonight, I guess.
I've probably only seen sort of 10 to 15 minutes of clips, but I can absolutely concur with that. And obviously I can't disagree with the manager. He's seen way more of him than I have, but he turns on a sixpence, he turns on a dime, and he runs at full tilt and plants and turns my cruciates would snap if I tried to do what he does. He really does. He's got a lovely low center of gravity, and he can turn very, very quickly. I'd say like somebody like Ronaldo, who can turn, not the Ronaldo of now, but the Ronaldo of sort of 8-9 years ago, when he can just plant and turn when virtually going at full sprint. It's a wonderful skill to have that dynamism, and he certainly has it in the clips that I've seen, and Pascal says that as well. He's seen him up close and personal. If I take what Pascal said there to you in that interview at face value, there is no way in the world that Traore is starting tonight. But was that a little bit of sort of cat and mouse by Pascal there with the Columbus Crew manager, Laurent Courtois? Who knows? I tend to think that he's telling the truth there, Pascal Janssen. I do understand, and I've said to you before, Glenn, I only ever transferred between clubs in England, and more often than not between clubs in the southeast of England. I didn't really have much geography to travel or to work with, and I found it very hard at times to integrate into dressing rooms, and it would take a good 3 to 6 months to truly acclimatise with the dressing room and, a defensive partner, a centre-half partner alongside me. I've said it to you before, Glenn, it takes a good 25 to 50 games to truly grow a partnership. So I think looking to Traore to come in and instantly be a success would be wrong. But the position he plays, he can certainly come in and have a modicum of success off the bench, I think. 15 minutes here, 25 minutes there. I don't see him starting just yet. But again, I'm not the manager. I haven't seen him in training. Listening to Pascal there, I'd be very surprised if he started tonight.
Yeah, and he's an Ivory Coast lad and has played with the national team in qualifiers leading up to the World Cup, but was not selected for the World Cup squad, which I'm sure would have been beneficial for him. But at the same time, for New York City, it's really allowed him to maybe integrate a lot earlier. And I would imagine it's going to work to the club's benefit, maybe not himself personally.
Absolutely. I think to club and to him as well. I've changed football clubs mid-season, and it's not normally until the following pre-season that I felt truly integrated. And he's got the luck of having a mini pre-season in mid-season. So I do think that will have helped. I do think it will have helped him breed relationships on the training ground, but also in the dressing room as well. Let's not forget how important it is that you get on with the people that you're playing with. It doesn't always have to be. There's the famous story of Teddy Sheringham and Andy Cole, who never spoke to each other on or off the pitch, but they had a wonderful relationship. That's a one-off. I think it really helps if you get on with the people around you, and that can only come with time. And he has had a few weeks to acclimatise at the Etihad training ground. So I think that will be beneficial for him and club. But let's not expect too much. As Pascal said, he's a very young man. He's changed continent. He's changing language. He's changing league. He's changing so many different things that we should give him time to grow as a New York City FC footballer.
All right, but you could be just as fast in New York City as you can in Switzerland, right? I mean, you're
absolutely. That's why I think the style of player he is, he can have an instant impact.
Yeah.
Granted, that will probably only be coming off the bench, and it's not going to be every single game as well. He'd be very unlikely to come in and hit the ground running straight away and in every game. But the dynamism he's got, the eye for a goal, the awareness of players around him, there's no reason why we can't expect to see some good things from him coming off the bench.
All right, so sticking with New York City and the injury side of things, it makes tonight's lineup a little interesting because along the way on June the 18th, all of a sudden, who reemerges? Back from his loan is James Sands, who seems, based on his comments in his midweek press conference, that, and I'm going to play some clips there. This is our tease for NYCFC pregame live. So at 6:30 tonight, Maddie and I will re-engage and start up our an hour before kickoff. We're on live from the stadium. We'll be at Scott's Miracle Grove Field. It's Scott's, right, with an S?
Yeah. Scott's, yes, correct.
Hey, one thing I found out about that is I'm more in tune with the name of the stadium now. You know why? Because since the inception of the Crew, which is the first season of MLS in 1996, they've utilized Scott's Miracle Grow for their grass and all the different products. So at least there's a relationship there, longstanding relationship. It's just a tough one to remember. And but anyway, so our NYCFC pregame live at 6:30, and then our radio commentary starts at 7:15. And with Raul Gustavo down, and mentioning James Sands, who I was starting to say is he seems very committed to the cause as far as the stadium opening and coming back to New York City and trying to win another title, which he was part of in 2021. But we know he prefers the midfield. I'm sure the target for Pascal Janssen and the coaching team is to play him in the midfield. However, I would imagine there's a good chance he'll start in the back tonight.
Yeah, I can't see anything other than that. I really can't, because without Gustavo, without Truin, Justin Hack's obviously not here anymore. I think it makes sense. They know each other as well. James Sands and Thiago Martins have played together before. We know that Sands has 2 feet. He's not totally right-footed. He has the ability to play as a left-sided centre-half. So does Thiago Martins. I think they will leave Thiago Martins as right-sided and move Sands to a left-sided. When we heard James Sands talk in the press conference before this game, he did mention that he'd played as a left-sided centre-half as well in the
friendlies,
the friendlies, which we know haven't been put out there publicly, but we know, listening to the guys, listening to Pascal, and it's understandable that you get sick and tired of kicking your own teammates in training. You want something a little more competitive. And so we know they will have played some games to get up to speed. We know it's not true match practice, but it's as close as you can get playing against other teams.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Matty. I'm thinking about what I said, and maybe I'm wrong as far as where the coaching team thinks he'll end up eventually, because whatever you think about the effectiveness of Raul Gustavo, and Kai Truin has a long-term injury, when the midfield becomes a little bit more secure, i.e. the return of Aiden O'Neill, you've got Andres Pereira, you've got Keaton Parks when he gets back, and Johnny Shore. It's almost a position of glut when everybody's healthy, and maybe he's best served at the back. I don't know. But anyway, go ahead.
I absolutely agree with you there, Glenn. I think if it is a full and fit squad, you do not need James Sands as a central midfielder, because he'd be a lot better as a centre half, in my opinion, because you've got some really good centre midfielders. I think that Sands and Martins would be a very good centre-half pairing. Even way back when James Sands started playing at 16, 17, 18, I think I've always said that I saw James Sands' best position as a centre-half as he grew in the game. I think he reads the game fantastically well. And I think he can do that. I think he wins challenges well. I think aerially he's good enough in the modern game. He's not 6'4", but he's big enough. He's tall enough. He wins the ball well enough in the air to play in the modern game as a centre half. And yes, O'Neill, Truin, Pereira, Parks. Why do you need him? I know Sands, in my opinion, would probably be the best of any of those as a holding six. But I think the input he could have, and the difference maker he could be at centre half alongside Martins, means that I kind of fancy him there, Glenn. I know he's not truly left-footed, but he can play there, and I'd like to see that partnership grow if it can, because we've not truly seen a centre half partnership grow in the recent months. Certainly not in the positive manner that we'd want, I don't think. I think Sands could fill that void.
Well, the other item tonight, Matt Freese just returned to training on Thursday. And so we look at his World Cup experience, and we understand what happened against Belgium. I mean, I'm not showing pictures. I mean, we've already described it. It was an error that was on the global stage. And I asked Pascal one-on-one about Matt Freese's return, and in particular, if any of this had been addressed. And I'd be interested in your thoughts after this, Matty, because I put this up on social media, and I think some of the responses, I think some people just read the tweet and then don't listen to the clip, which I think it's tough to respond if you don't listen to the whole thing. But see what you think. This is Pascal Janssen on the return of Matt Freese. And we know that Matty's a mentally strong guy, but when you take it to the global stage, the moment, more Americans watching a soccer match than ever before. That's tough on him. How is the welcome back? What do you have any sense of how he's taking it at the moment?
Well, obviously, we had our moments mainly through Rob during the tournament also to stay in contact. It was minimalized to a few moments because you don't want to distract him as much. And he has to focus on what needs to be done within the team and during this tournament. However, yeah, when you act on a stage that is seen by the rest of the world and it's very intense, mistakes are part of the game. And once it happens to you, then you'll be the center of this whole discussion, which he has been as well. What we discussed is like we work together. What I emphasize working with this team in this locker room also, making sure there are no highs and no lows in your behavior. You have to find a middle ground as much as you can. Once you're successful, enjoy that moment as much as you can, and then get back to your routines in order to prepare yourself for the next moment. But enjoy it, and then analyze it as well, and take the lessons from this peak moment, so you can use it to your advantage and improve your game, whatever area needs improvement. If, however, it's a very negative emotion because it's a very low moment, there's also things to be learned. So live that moment, experience those emotions, and then analyze it again. Get back to your routines and then analyze it again and take those lessons from what you felt then and what has happened. And then you move on because it happens in life. And in this case with Matty, he's performed at the highest level that the world can be from our game perspective. Like I said, unfortunately, the game is also based on making mistakes, and he made one error and he will be remembered for that. But we support him 100%. So we have his back. He's back in the building here, and we take it from where we left off with a fresh start again, because he needed some time off. He was in a very high pressure environment, and that also requires some downtime afterwards in order to settle down and reset and get ready for the next phase.
All right. So the comment that drew the most reaction was when he said he will be remembered for that. But I take the whole thing and put that into the context of it and think he's just being honest about, look, this is what he's got to deal with. So he will be remembered. This is one thing he'll be remembered for. Now, if he's the starting keeper in 2030 and the U.S. makes it to the semifinals and he's made 3 saves in the previous 2 matches in the penalty kick shootout, that'll fade away. So I think what he's saying, Matty, and I'm interested to know what you think. I just think he's saying this is what he's got to deal with. So let's move on from it and learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got no problem with anything that Pascal said. And when you're on the biggest stage and you are a goalkeeper, if you make a mistake and it leads to a goal, that's what you're remembered for. It's the same as in the penalty shootouts. Me as an Englishman, I still remember back to 1996 when Gareth Southgate missed a penalty. I know that Gareth Southgate was a very good footballer and a really good centre half, but what I have intrinsically in my mind is of him missing a penalty.
Right.
That doesn't mean that's my sole opinion of Gareth Southgate, but that's the one big thing that's at the forefront of my mind. So it's just natural for human beings that's what we remember. And it's the last action as well. The last action almost for Matt Freese was making a very high profile error at the biggest football tournament in the world. So many people will remember him for that. But it doesn't mean you think any less of him as a goalkeeper. Right. I certainly don't. He's just made a mistake, and we can all make a mistake. When you're a goalkeeper, you make a mistake, it leads to a goal. And that's the nature of the beast of a goalkeeper. Now what we do is we have to judge how Matt Freese bounces back from that, how he overcomes it psychologically and mentally. I think one of his biggest character traits is his strong mentality, and that will be tested to the maximum. Can he deal with that pressure and with that mistake? And I would say categorically, yes, he can. But that will need to be shown. Does he start tonight? I think if Matt Freese wants to start, Matt Freese starts tonight. I think that as a manager, you would have to back him. I know he's only been in training a little while. Last Thursday, he's joined the club, but he was been playing up there. He probably took a couple of weeks off, and that was that. So he went and sat on a beach somewhere, read a book, tried to forget about things for 2 weeks, and then got himself back into training.
I hope he read my book. He's got a copy.
Right. Well, I hope he read both of them. I hope he read both of them, Glenn. But if he feels good enough in himself, and maybe that's not long enough for just 5 days of training. Yeah. But I think as a player, whether that's a goalkeeper or an outfield player, you just want to get back in the saddle.
I think he plays. I think he plays today.
He would want to play, but we don't know underlying emotions. We don't know how hard it's hit him. And I certainly wouldn't blame anybody if they said, and they were man enough to say, or big enough to say to the manager, I'm not quite ready yet. Just give me another week of training. I'm okay with that as well.
Pascal in his presser, and you might not have heard this part of the Freeze, he talked about Freeze there as well, but he talked about, he could tell he's got the fire, and he made it seem like he's ready to go, which made it, I thought, pretty clear to me that, if he's ready to go, he plays. Even though Thomas Romero, how about the goalkeeping situation for New York City?
I know.
They're number 2 and they're number 3, both signed contract extensions, Thomas Romero and Greg Ranjitsingh. So all during the week. So Romero would be the likely choice, probably the definite choice if Freese doesn't go. But I agree with you. I think we're going to see him.
We know that Romero is a quality understudy, but that's what he is. He's the understudy. If Matt Freese is mentally and physically capable of going tonight, then he goes. That's absolutely undoubted.
How about this? The timing of these 2 extensions of Romero and Ranjitsingh, does that mean maybe Matt Freese, who, there's a lot of reports about New York City players right now, and one of them is Matt Freese. Celtic came up in the conversation at one point. So what do you think? Do you think getting these guys inked has anything to do with that?
I don't think it does. I think you want a good number 2 and you want a good number 3. Matt Freese only just signed his new contract just before the World Cup, wasn't it? It was earlier in the year. So all 3 goalkeepers have signed theirs. Would I be surprised if Matt Freese left for pastures new? No, of course not, because he's a wonderful goalkeeper. I also do think that it's going to take a lot of money. If they want to take, or if another football club wants to take Matt Freese, wants to buy Matt Freese, it's going to take a lot of money. He's inked a long-term contract. He is the US men's national team #1. He is NYCFC's #1. If you want that man, if you want Matt Freese, it's going to cost you a lot of money. I don't know what that means. 8 to 10 million. I'm thinking, I don't see why you would let him go for any less than that. We know that Celtic need a new goalkeeper. Kasper Schmeichel got injured and subsequently retired at the back end of last season. So there's a possibility, of course. It would be a shame, of course, to lose Matt Freese. But if you get that type of money, everybody's available at whichever football club in the world you're at. I remember when my team, when Liverpool lost Philippe Coutinho. Coutinho had been brilliant for Liverpool, but Barcelona offered 125 million or something for it. So Liverpool said, there you go, take him. We'll happily take that money for him. And they then reinvested it. So everybody's available. Every single football club in the world is a selling club if the price is right. I know nothing about...
What's the price for Nico Fernandez-Marcao, who has also been in the news in terms of reports? And I don't say any of this very securely because we don't have any confirmation, and I don't think either one of us have worked on trying to confirm these reports. But Nico Fernandez-Marcao, there's a report out there that the club turned down an $18 million offer for him. And I know we talked about it as a group, and you felt that that's the proper decision, that they need to get more for him.
I think so. I don't know how much more you could expect to get, but I think I was saying sort of a 20 to 25, maybe 22 to 25, maybe an upfront of 20 or 22 with another 5 million or so euros. We're talking here as well. I'd be talking euros here in add-on fees as well. If he hits certain heights. If,
Sure.
say, he goes to Benfica, it would be another million if Benfica win the league. It's another million if he plays 20 games. It's another million if he gets 10 goals. It's another million if they qualify for the Champions League. You know, all things like that, Glenn, are relatively easy add-ons to put into any type of deal. But yes, he would be a massive loss, Fernandez Macau. But as I go back to Matt Freeze, everybody is available at a price. That's the whole point of a business. Football is a business, unfortunately, nowadays. It's a business, and we know the NYCFC business model to bring in good young talent and then sell it on. And Fernandez Macau has been absolutely magnificent, and there is no reason he couldn't go to a Benfica or a club of a similar stature, a PSV Eindhoven, an Ajax, maybe a lesser Liga, possibly. Who would he go to there? Possibly a Monaco, somebody like that. In the Bundesliga or Borussia Dortmund or similar, RB Leipzig. I don't see him going to Bayern Munich or to Liverpool or to PSG, but the teams just under that he could certainly go to and have a positive input. So if those clubs want him, they have to be paying 20 to 25, if not 22 to 25. And that's as an upfront figure with more in add-ons as well. He is that good, Glenn. We know that. There's no reason to think that he can't go to those places. And NYCFC would have to take notice if the figure got above 20 million. I think, Glenn, that's just my opinion. I haven't delved into it. I don't know. But we know that everybody has a price. That's a fact.
The other player whose name has come up in Sky Sport Austria is Hannes Wolf. So, again, that's a report that we haven't confirmed. Interestingly, New York City beat Columbus in the regular season this year. This is the conclusion of the regular season series tonight. And Hannes Wolf had a hat trick in the 3-0 win at Yankee Stadium. So he's been a streaky goal scorer. There's little question of that. But he's been the coaches have favored him because of just how hard he works on both sides of the ball and the impact he has in that area. We have at times in commentary been a bit frustrated or miffed as to his decision-making as he got close to goal. But outside of that, he's really been an important player.
Yeah, it really is the hot and cold nature, isn't it, of the productivity. I think that's what gets a little, maybe not infuriating, maybe that's too strong, but because of his output at times, what a wonderful player he is. And in front of goal, he's a good player as well. It's just not quite there in terms of consistency. We also don't know about his personal situation. Obviously, we know he's European. Does he want to move back to Europe? So we can't comment on that. Reading, the rumours, the rumour mill that is social media, and some pretty high-profile journalists have talked about maybe that he's not willing to sign another contract at NYCFC, means that you would want to get money for him as quickly as possible before that contract starts running down too much, Glenn. I know we were reading figures, certainly we saw online, of 1.5 million euros, I think it was. That seems a reasonable figure if you're going to sell him on. And if he doesn't want to be here long term as well, Glenn. We know that NYCFC doesn't try and hold players here who don't want to be here. Berk Rieser, for example, is the most recent one, when really they let Berk Rieser go. NYCFC let him go too early, and there was that glut of who's going to play left-sided centre half. We don't have anyone. So they do it.
Well, the other thing too, I think, to observe through all this, so we don't know to what extent these reports are accurate and how deeply embedded into the process both sides are. But one thing we've learned from Pascal Janssen, if you're not committed to the cause 100%, for instance, let's just say, I'm not saying this is happening, but let's say Fernandez Macau is not in the 11 tonight. I think you absolutely know that there's a little bit of there's something going on, whether it's realistic that he's going to go, or maybe he's pouting. And again, I'm not suggesting any of this is happening. I'm just saying that's there will be telltale signs if either Fernandez Macau or Wolf or anyone within the program, because we saw it happen with Micha Ilinic, who, by the way, is back. Very nice to see him. Yeah.
Yeah, look. If your best players aren't playing, they're not in the starting lineup after an 8-week break, and that they're fully fit. You know that there's something else underlying. And as I say, I know nothing about Fernandez Macau's situation. But I know he's a grown up, and I know he has every right to go and walk into Pascal Jansen's office if this is how he feels and say, I feel $18 million, if that is true, is a fair figure for me. I would like to test the waters elsewhere. He has the ability to do that, but the football club has the ability to hold on to him as well. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. The football
Yeah.
club hopefully is also open and transparent with him and says, well, yes, look, we will let you go, but there needs to be a bid of 22 million or 25 million. Then we'll let you go because that's what you're worth. And then hopefully the player himself says, okay, that's fair enough. Until that time happens, I will do the best I can for this football club. I will do the best I can while I'm being paid $3.3 million a year at this football club. You hope that it doesn't get to the extent, and we've seen it, Josh Sargent did it at Norwich and pouted so much that Norwich couldn't play him and he forced the move. We hope that doesn't happen. But we know that footballers do it. We saw it with Isak at Newcastle forcing the move to Liverpool. We know that footballers do this. It's not the right thing, but we know it can happen. And as you say, there will be telltale signs. If Fernandez Macau starts tonight, we will know that he's fully dialed into New York City FC. Because if he's not, Pascal Jansen doesn't won't want him in the starting lineup, and that's a fact.
Not at all. All right, as we close, and again, we're going to be back. We'll call it part 2, but it's called NYCFC Pregame Live at 6:30 because there are a number of things that I want to play for you, Matty, and for the viewers and listeners that we're not going to be able to get to. But just to close, World Cup final drew 66 million viewers in the U.S., which is by far a record. Fox viewership for the entire World Cup was up 116% from Qatar 2022. So while many things have occurred during the lead up to the World Cup, from tickets to transportation, we've reviewed that, and we know it hasn't been a perfect journey. But as far as Americans being in tune, and people in domestically, no matter what nationality they are or dual nationals, whatever, they were watching this thing, man.
Yeah, I think that the US, forget everything around it. I think the US hosted an incredible World Cup. I really do. There were things that were wrong, sort of on and off the pitch, but as an overall spectacle, it was magnificent, Glenn. I watched 2 games at MetLife Stadium. I can call it MetLife Stadium now. We're outside of the World Cup. I watched 2 games there: England, Panama, and France, Sweden. And I took a shuttle bus from Midtown for one of the games, and I took a shuttle bus from out sort of at Hackensack Health. I think it's out in Nutley, out in New Jersey. And my experience was really fantastic for both. It was $20 return, so only $10 there, $10 back. And it was like clockwork. It really was. That's my experience. I know that other people may have had bad experiences, but on site, the experience was fantastic. And being around Jersey City, being around Manhattan, I watched a couple of games one game back in England as well. I know that's a little bit different. Everybody was tuned in and everybody bought into this tournament. I think it bodes well for the future. But then I thought that in 1994 when I was here as well, Glenn.
Well, here's I'm going to close with this. Michael Bradley, the New York Red Bulls head coach and former captain of the U.S. men's national team. So he was massively invested in, taking everything in for the World Cup for some obvious reasons. But here's what he said as someone asked him about, where do we go from here now with this successful World Cup?
When the league starts up again, all of us inside Major League Soccer have a responsibility, have a duty to make sure that when any of these people now come back into our stadiums or turn on Apple TV to watch some games, that what they see is of the highest quality, and what they see makes them want to come back or turn on again.
I like that. I like that the MLS coaches, sporting directors, players, venues have this responsibility of quality. unfortunately for MLS, and I really felt bad for them, that Chicago-Vancouver match, which I think would have been sensational, 45,000, Soldier Field, and it was postponed. That one of the first games back, as they have this catchphrase. We'll take it from here.
We'll take it from here. Yeah.
Well, we took it from here with CF Montreal and Toronto in a 0-0 match. Not sure if you watched any of it. I tuned in because it was like, and Toronto got no shots on goal. Montreal had 3 shots on goal. It was a pretty awful match. And that was, now look, they're off for 2 months. And Robin Fraser said after the game, we kind of anticipated, some of these early games are going to be rough because we haven't competed. But still, it was just, that was the first global experience outside of the World Cup for people watching on Apple or however they were going to take that one in. And, it's got to be better, man. It's got to be better.
It does. It's a no-win situation because as a player, I know it does take you a good few games to get your true match fitness back, to get fully back acclimatized to playing competitive games. It's not going to be instantaneous. But yes, when you're saying, when your logo is, we'll take it from here, the insinuation is that it's going to be a solid transfer from World Cup to MLS, but it can't be. It really can't be, because professional athletes don't work like that. Just because the advertisement or the commercial says that doesn't happen.
Well, come on, man. What's wrong with you athletes? No, but no, you're right. You're right. And I think
but Michael Bradley's point is true. But MLS to carry on riding the wave, then the rules need to be changed. There needs to be more money brought in. You can't possibly look at France playing Sweden or Spain playing Argentina or Spain playing France, Spain playing Portugal, and then go and watch Montreal, Toronto with the salary caps that are in place right now and expect to see that. That's the other thing. If you've watched the World Cup and then you switch to MLS, you cannot possibly think that it's going to be the same. It can't be. I think there needs to be a certain modicum of education as well.
How would you adjust the promotional phrase? We'll take it from here with what we have.
Exactly. We'll take it from here, but don't think that you're going to see, Messi in every game.
No, that's true. You have to, and that's difficult. I mean,
you have to temper people's expectations.
Yeah.
That is very, very difficult. We've just seen the sport on its biggest stage, the World Cup, and it was such a bonus that it was here in the US. It earned a lot of money for FIFA. Obviously, I don't always agree with that, but it was a true spectacle. MLS is at a different level, so as long as you temper people's expectations, I can get on board with what Michael Bradley said. With what we've got, MLS, the quality of the players we've got, every game has to be exciting, and I think that's what Michael Bradley tries at Red Bulls. You see a lot of goals at Red Bulls. His team aren't particularly good.
He's got guts.
Exactly.
He's got guts the way he's coaching them, and that's going to do it for now, Matty. And Columbus, that was one of the last matches New York City played before the break. The unfortunate loss in the Open Cup in the quarterfinal, where New York City got no shots on goal. Speaking of no shots on goal, their last visit to Columbus, have never won at the new stadium, which was formerly Lower.com Field. Now it's Scott's Miracle-Gro, and that's since 2021. So, and New York City with a lengthy injury list. So it's not an excuse. It's the reality of it. It'll be pretty interesting to see how it's all set up and how this game is managed by Pascal Janssen and his coaching team. But we're going to talk more about it at 6:30 on NYCFC Pregame Live. So Matty and I will be live from the stadium at that moment. Here we're in our hotel rooms, and then our live commentary begins at 7:15 with a pregame show, and you'll hear the full interview with Pascal Janssen as we talk about Benny Traore. I talked to him a lot about the World Cup and what he's taken away from it, and I think I was hanging with Mehdi Belushi a little bit last night. Same kind of thing. It's like, picking their brain as to what they saw. And Pascal's comments are pretty interesting on it as well. Matty, good to see you. And everything looked good on your phone. I'm glad we were able to sort that all out.
I figured it out. Apologies.
Yeah. And So for Matty, I'm Glenn, and thanks so much for being here. I should also admit, if he's still on here, we had a viewer from Uganda today. So Awa Ali, thank you, Awa Ali.
Thank you so much.
Spread the word. Spread the word globally. And so we'll talk to you a little bit later tonight, everybody. Take care.